both Uranus and the sign it rules, Aquarius, are being highlighted right now. Uranus because it's being expanded by Jupiter, and Aquarius because Pluto is in there for the next 20 years. And with whatever sign Pluto is in, it intensifies the energy. It acts as a catalyst for the energy. And both the planet Uranus and the sign Aquarius are to do with galactics, the foreigner, the maverick, the outsider. And whenever we've had strong Uranus transits, we've made greater discoveries about the out there, about the cosmos, about the way the galaxy operates, about planetary motion, the day of the moon landing, and whatever you think about that. Nevertheless, it expanded our consciousness. There was an exact Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that day, and so if I track back, it's always been linked to some kind of out there experience historically. So, and I've set up, as you probably know, Amelia, an incredibly simple 15-minute meditation on a Sunday evening UK time for people just to magnetize in New Earth. More and more people are feeding back to me from that experience that hundreds of galactic beings are now joining us. They're very tall, they're very loving, they're very benevolent, and they are just cheering us on with our endeavors to bring in a more loving, compassionate, peaceful, and joyful world. And they just come in, boom. People are just saying, boom, within a second, 7 o'clock, boom, on the dot. They're very prompt. And they arrive in the meditation. And I mean, dozens of people are feeding this back now. And if you think of the people who are channeling Palladian energy, Arcturian energy, I mean, they're all over YouTube, aren't they? Now it's a much more common thing. And so I think it's very important, whatever other narratives come to us, that we recognize we are galactic beings. We're made of stardust. We know that. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones comes from stardust. We've lived on other constellations. We've lived in other galaxies. So if there's any kind of story about, little green men and how scary they are, that's not the case. We are galactic beings. And that's another step into our sovereignty, recognizing that. So I think we're going to get some very exciting times through this year. We've got an activation of Uranus yet again in mid-July. There's a Mars Uranus conjunction, I think. Yes, conjunction in July that's very strong, and further activations as we go through this year. And actually then 25, 26, some very big activations once Uranus starts to come into a trine at 120-degree aspect to Pluto. And that will bring in a lot, I think, from galactic connection, galactic news, galactic understanding. And if we look back to when those rare trines happened to Uranus, Pluto in the past, not only has a lot been discovered about light, we're going back to light now because Uranus is very linked to light as well, but it was an incredible time of creativity and discovery, if we go back to those times in the 1700s. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. And as long as we can stay on that pathway of excitement and discovery and love and magnetizing in New Earth and keeping your spiritual blinkers on to some extent, saying, no, we're not going to go into fear, because you get more of what you think about all day long. And I think there's quite a big bifurcation happening right now. If we are in love, we are creating more love every day in our lives. You get more of what you think about all day long. And that timeline is getting higher and higher. If you're in fear, that's a very different trajectory. And we can still see people existing in that lower frequency of fear, which is more about control, etc. And it's like two trains leaving a station. You can still see the other train at the moment, but quite soon those trains are going to take a very different route, and you will lose sight of that train on the other timeline, and we'll just be living fully in love in New Earth. I mean, that's how I see it. That's what I'm working on anyway.